Happily Tech. Welcome back to What Did You Learn? Today we have the most fantastic guest, my good friend and colleague, Joe Pulizzi, who you probably know as the Godfather of Content Marketing. But really, he's my favorite mystery author in the whole world. He wrote a fantastic mystery called The Will to Die, and I suggest you check it out immediately. Join me in welcoming Joe. Joe, it's so great to see you.
You are so kind, and you've been such a support telling me, hey, when's that next edition coming out? Get going.
I don't think I'm supportive. I think I'm like, I want to know what happened.
It's so funny because I don't, people probably know some of your Facebook feed, but I said, oh, I got my manuscript done for Content Inc. I put it on Facebook last week. I'm really excited about it in my next marketing book. Everybody's saying, congratulations, such a big effort. And you're like, where's my Will to Die Part 2? I love it. You're the only one. I love it.
I actually felt after I wrote it, I was like, wow, Hava, you're incredibly selfish. Like, you should congratulate your friend. You know what it's like to put in a manuscript. And I was like, no, I don't really care. I want my sequel.
No. I appreciate it's gotten me. Your insistence has gotten me to think about this a little bit more. So
it really is a great book. It really was. It was such a fun read.
Thank you.
So let's talk about what you're involved in, like a billion different things. I don't know how you manage it. You manage your charity in sponsorship of children with autism and speech issues, the Orange Effect. You, still write about content, still are heavily involved in the content marketing industry. I know that you like to play golf also. How did quarantine hit you? Like, what did you all of a sudden do? You were grounded, you were home. What happened to you during that time period, where you just sort of life as you knew it sort of really changed?
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. I had a nice little bout of anxiety at the end of March, April. I was having some chest pains and I was having all kinds of issues. And I'm like, I better go to the doctor. And the doctor said, you're fine. And then I realized, oh my God, this is all in my head. Because, nobody knew anything. I'm sure a lot of people go through it, but I'm not used to it. Usually, because I was telling everybody, I'm fine. I don't take anything too seriously. Like, what the heck is going on? So physically, it was weird. So I was going through that. The second thing is I was pretty much every other week, I was on the road doing something, going to a speech. I mean, now I'm it's a wonderful position I'm in that I can sort of choose which speeches I want to do and which I don't want to do. And we were going to go to Europe. Pam and I, my wife, we're going to go to Europe a couple times. I was just supposed to be in Milan, Italy, and do a presentation that I just did virtually. We were going to go see some family from Italy there. So that didn't happen. So a lot of people are in the same boat, right? But if you're asking about my creative process, that completely changed because I would do my reading on the planes normally. I would sketch a lot of notes. I carry a moleskin notebook everywhere I go, sketch lots of notes on it. And so that when I'm ready to go and create some kind of content, whether that be marketing content or fiction, I'm ready to go. I'm in a good position because I work up to that point. Like I don't just sit down and start writing necessarily. Like writing a chapter on something takes a week for me. And people don't realize this, but I'm literally in writing mode all the time. I'm running and I'm writing. I'm just hanging out with the family. I hate to say this, but in my head, there's things going on and I'm starting to work through things. And then all of a sudden, there's a chapter. And I sat down for 2 hours and wrote it, but there was a long process to get there. So long story short, my process had to change because the way that I live was changed. So I had to figure, okay, well, how am I going to be creative since I'm not doing the things I used to do?
Yeah. I mean, so I do a lot of my thinking while I walk and listen to music. Like that's like walking meditation type of thing. And I tore my hamstring this summer and I was on the couch for like 10 weeks. It was horrendous. And I didn't come up with any new ideas. Like, oh, well, there goes my creativity.
Well, I think you're allowed, first of all. You're allowed. I'll give you a really good example. I'm not a person I don't watch a lot of TV, but I finished the second version of Content Inc. I finished that manuscript on Thursday. And I said, I'm doing nothing for the next couple of days. And literally on Saturday during the day, I think I set a record for most movies you could watch in one day. I just sat and did nothing. I watched Galaxy Quest and Vice and Moneyball and like all my guilty pleasure movies that I don't get to watch.
But Moneyball is a phenomenal movie. I mean, if you want to talk about how to put together a great story based on a Michael Lewis book.
Moneyball, by the way, Moneyball was a huge inspiration for Content Marketing Institute. I mean, because when I first of all, I read the book and then watched, of course, Brad Pitt's amazing performance in it. And I kept thinking about what's the thing that everyone's missing that's right out in front of us. Of course, that's Moneyball, right? It's right there, on base percentage. Yep. It's right there. What do we need? We need runs. We need to score more runs. We need to pay for runs. I mean, nobody did that at that time. Now everybody uses is it on base percentage plus slugging percentage? So that's what they kind of use.
I have no idea.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Some magic formula.
Basically, that's what I was trying to think of. Like everybody's doing content marketing. Everybody's calling it different things. I'm like, oh well, what if we just flipped the script and called it something different? And that was the thing. It's not like I was a trailblazer in the custom publishing field. I wasn't in it very long. I just said, I think if we gave it a makeover, I think we'd do better. That's all I said.
Yeah, but I think that's what Drew Davis's keynote at Content Marketing World this year was about, right? Like, how do you become a visionary? You kind of just look for the thing. You don't be an expert. You move away from the how-to. You look at like what's in the future, what's next, what's different.
So, by the way, that was an awesome presentation. He has to be. He's one of the greatest marketing speakers of all time, in my opinion, especially the way that he is so creative about it. And now he's figured out the virtual medium. We're just up here speaking, doing Zoom and whatever, and think, oh, that's good enough. And then he has 17 different camera angles coming at it.
He's hilarious. And he's the nicest person.
Oh, he's so good.
And you know what? We're really lucky because in our field, just everybody is so great. What if somebody had come to you in January and said, hey, Joe, you're about to have an anxiety attack that's going to last a month. What do you wish you had known before this started?
Well, first of all, on February 20th, I wish they would have told me to sell all my stock and then rebuy it a month later, all into Zoom and Peloton. That's
right.
That would have been amazing.
And Home Depot.
And really, just about everything that you could possibly imagine. It's crazy. In January, somebody came to me. None of this writing. I would have said, travel your butt off. Travel like crazy now because you can't. We were actually supposed to be on a cruise during the election. That's not going to happen. It was interesting. So I was in January, February, March, I'm in full promoting the book mode. And we had the book party, The Will to Die was all kinds of stuff was going on. I was trying to get it out there as much as possible. And I've never, promoted a novel before. So this was all new to me. But what surprised me, and I don't know if it would have helped if I knew beforehand, maybe because I could have moved faster than I have, which seems awfully slow. I know you say I'm doing a lot, but I don't feel like I'm going very fast when I do it, is in late March and April, just as we were in the thick of this whole thing, I started getting a lot of emails from me about the business model of content, which I call Content Inc. And the only reason why I just finished the manuscript and why I'm republishing and why I started half of the stuff I'm doing is because there's a need for it. And I was getting so many emails and messages from people that said, okay, I've lost my job. But I really believe in this model. I'd like to start doing this. How do I find my differentiation point? What's the timetable to expect? How should I build my plan? All questions that you get all the time, but just very specific to the business model that we put together based on a lot of interviews. So I wish I would have known that, because if I would have known that, I would have had something ready to go in late March or April. that said, here you go. I mean, I just read an article in the Wall Street Journal that said there's more people starting businesses right now than at any point in the United States since 2007. So, and my take is launching with a product first business model today is flawed. I believe in an audience first or content first business model. It's just a lot of people don't understand that because we think, oh, we've got to go ahead and sell our product. They don't understand that. Oh, what if we build a relationship first? Would that make a difference? Oh, yes, it does. I think it's a less risky business model, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. So that's probably what I would say. I wish I knew the demand, because you're right. The industry is resilient. The problem is a lot of our friends are on the media side of the house, and they're not getting their jobs back anytime soon, except for the fact that it may be on the other side, which, they're basically creating content for brands. Yeah. Or they can decide, I'm going to do my own business model, which of course I'm partial to, just because, you and I are both entrepreneurs, and, why work for somebody when you don't have to?
You're talking about Content Inc. You're talking about the business model for content. Did you watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix?
Yes, absolutely did.
Okay. What are the ethics around the things that we do? And I'm not talking about clickbait and things like that. Obviously, black hat, SEO, obviously those things, we know that they're wrong. But, did you think about yourself? Did you think about, what have I accomplished here for so many people? I've created, an entire industry really, or I married two bad businesses to create an industry. But what was your reaction?
The first reaction is I need to leave social media entirely. And the second reaction is, okay, let's just cut the cord on the internet altogether, because I've got two kids, and that's like, and the third, the third reaction is, oh my God, I can't believe my mom's on Facebook. Those are the things that I thought about immediately. I think that we have to ask ourselves that question as content creators, because we have a lot to do with it. I mean, I've been teaching forever that, social media they're just pipes. They're very smart pipes, but they're pipes, and they can't do anything without content. Just like, what's a faucet good for if there's no water coming out of it? Same thing.
What's HBO good for if there's no shows on?
Exactly. So you've got programming, and we help create that programming, sometimes ourselves, sometimes for our clients, sometimes for our friends. So we have a lot of responsibility in all this. I think that these platforms are going to be used. I mean, when you think about Facebook, it's the one that I hate. I mean, I say in my newsletter all the time that I think that if there's a social media representative of evil, it's Facebook. And I believe that because I don't think their intentions are honorable.
You literally say that almost every time you post. Like,
I do. Yeah. So I'm trying to do my part. I'm not saying don't use Facebook.
Right.
Because look at the Philippines. In the Philippines, Facebook is the internet.
The internet, yeah.
They don't go like when you go. There's a lot of African countries as well. The same thing. They get a phone. They don't have a computer. They get a phone, and it opens up, and automatically it's Facebook. It's pre-programmed in. Done. They've got a Facebook account. That's how they get there. So I think Facebook is going to be used, but I think that we have to just tell the truth about what's going on. We have to be involved in some of these platforms. Like I'm on Facebook less than ever before, but when I'm on there, I just try to let people know, hey, this is what I believe. This is based on the information I have. This is not true. When I run into certain people and they say nobody knows what's true anymore, I'm like, we do. We do. We actually can find these things out. We actually know. Yes, I know that is a fact. Just like the earth is round. These are things we can find out. So back to your statement. We know this stuff. You and I and 1,000 other people. And I think it's our responsibility to get in there and do it as politely as we can and say that some things are right and some things are wrong. Because if we leave the platform and just let holy hell break loose, Mark Zuckerberg's not going to stop it. Who's going to stop it?
So I agree with you. And I do think that that's one of the things that we really work hard at AHA Media Group and our clients as well, particularly in the healthcare space, it's like if we can't find a second source to verify it, it's not going in the content.
That's
because
right.
I'm a journalist by training, and you have to really figure out what your ethics and your standards are and follow them, because otherwise I think you are contributing, not you, Joe Pulizzi. I'm saying,
Yeah.
I think we are contributing as a community to disinformation.
Absolutely.
So what do you think is the number one thing you've learned from this whole experience, and what you plan on taking with you in the future?
For the creative process to work for me, I have to set some guidelines to make it work. So, I mean, when I look at writing a novel and how that novel came together, basically I wrote for 44 days in a row to finish that novel, and the first couple days were horrible. It's just bad stuff and then you get into a rhythm, and I'm a long distance runner, and that's how I work. Not all people work that way, but generally you find that in writers and creators of some kind, where you build the muscles, you build over time, and then you start to get into a rhythm, and then that rhythm produces something hopefully great. So that's what I've learned about myself. Now, what I had to adjust in March and April is my rhythm was all out of whack because everything changed. Even my running schedule seemed to because the kids were off school, and you just, so you're like, okay, it took about 3 or 4 months to figure out, okay, what's my new schedule going to be? So I guess what I've learned is I need to be a little bit more flexible with my schedule, but at the same time, I have to figure out, okay, we've changed how we live in so many ways. How do I go ahead and set these new guidelines and parameters so I can create and be at that optimum level, even when it seems the world is in chaos?
Joe, where can people find you?
Joe Pulizzi, PULIZZI.com, as you can find all my books and speaking and my newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks. And then I'm probably most accessible on Twitter at Joe Pulizzi. So
Thank you, my friend. It was so
yeah,
good.
if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. All right, we'll see ya.
Take care. Bye.